So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzayelic lineage, so then we can understand the time of the end as per Yeshayahu the prophet. We find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read then Yeshayahu, we understand the basics of then the times and the seasons spoken of by the team of Yohanan when they first formed the first holy city. As we are then obviously reading the articles of what's going on in the world, those who are then wise, as the angel has said, those who are studying the holy instructions and being instructed with, we can understand then obviously the movements of nations and then aligning themselves with the Chinese system. As we then read before, this system is coming. Alibaba in the United States is the most prominent system ever. And then because of these, and then the resources being placed in the system of transportation, then what can we understand as far as the understanding of Daniel the prophet explaining then the Gentile Netzer and the coming of these as then the Soviet Union then returning. It was explained many times before. The situation regarding China is extremely important because then people are going to get jobs very easily, and those who are able to handle computerized systems, they can understand these very easily. As far as the Soviet Union, there are many reports of very great and very important also Soviet activity in many parts of the world. And then a few days ahead, we're going to be involved with the G20 in Australia, and there are then Soviet ships in near Australian country or realm. And then obviously in the Caribbean area, you find then Soviet patrol units already doing their work from the Arctic down to the Caribbean, and then from then on we can understand why. Because then Dragon Mart is on its way of becoming then completed. And the importance of these, it's because then lots of trade from the Asian markets are coming then to this area of the Americas, and these should drive then the countries of being obviously lean and competent as far as governments are concerned. Then obviously people can understand what's coming and then being prepared for. Those countries who are not then obviously prepared are going to become extremely exhausted, because in a very near future transportation is going to be the utmost important. Not only this, but a few countries in South America are not preparing whatsoever. And when the system comes, it's going to be an absolute chaos. So then, because of these naval and air activity from the Soviets are becoming more prominent, what do we understand as far as the Dragon Mart, or the system of the dragon? As we read from the Holy Instructions, we understand the prophets, they were very clear in what they were speaking of. Those people who do understand these situations, most of the time they are hated because the works of the world are evil. And people don't understand why the system is changing, though they want to have a system of their own, as Shaliach Shaul has mentioned regarding then at the end of times they will concoct teachers of their own making, so then as they were listening with tickling ears then to listen what they want to listen. But those who are then wise, they will understand the holy instructions, and then the computerized system is truly coming. And then the Soviets, as per the holy instructions, you find these very precisely in a couple of areas. First, you find in the 7th verse of the 11th chapter, where you can read then the Gentile Netzer and the system of the Soviet Union, very prominent during the 60s. Then you find in verse 1:4, where then later on the northern kingdom shall come with a great army and much equipment. This obviously shows the Soviet Union is replacing the United States, and because of these, then the system of China must become worldwide with a new system. Then people can earn much more than with the existing status quo, where then most of the nations of the West are bankrupt along with Europe. Whatsoever was then tried so hard during 1,000 years of deceit, either in Europe or then in Americans, it has failed. In the system of the East, or then the birthplace of the system where then the Creator himself is involved with, is obviously prospering. But the point is not only prosperity, the point is we want to save our souls. So then, what has then the Messiah explained regarding then the salvation of the soul? He's then obviously explaining areas of prosperity only, and more money and more activity, or he's explaining a way of saving our own soul when the time for the vengeance or autumn feast comes. We should be honest if we want to save our souls or not. So then, the world is obviously ruining itself because they have no way out of this system. As then the dragon becomes stronger, nations must become linked with it because it's the most profitable. And because nations, they can't control their economies, they must be joined with the dragonic periods system. They have no choice. So then, destroying the prophets did not change the prophecy, did it? And those who then, because they find themselves weak in their understandings, if they persecute those who are teaching, then they can understand their souls are lost. But there are always ways of reading and understanding and studying it. So then the Messiah can do his work as far as we can understand from the holy instructions, and then we can move on by reading further and saving other souls. Next time I'm going to evaluate more from the viewpoint of the Messiah himself, found in many sections of the recording of the spring feast, and also many teachings of Shaliach Shaul. So please stay tuned. Much more coming up.